All right. Has everyone got a chair?
Yes.
Yep.
There's probably more. Are there any more downstairs?
There's a number of empty ones here, and there's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's some empties.
People return standing because they're really arrogant, but I don't know. Oh, sorry, didn't point you out, Alison and Aaron. Or maybe, sorry.
Is it just me, because I'm over 50, or is it hot in here?
You've got the door and windows open, seriously.
Should I put aircon on? Or is that a bit overkill?
It's nice to have the breeze.
Is it okay? Okay. All right, are we ready to go, Kevy?
It's on.
Oscar Wilde. Okay. So, welcome to Open Mic Night number 60. Who's been to every single one? Anybody? No, you haven't. I don't think actually anyone has been to every single one, but quite a lot. No, I haven't. No, but almost. Sorry? No, I haven't. No. So this is our last for the year. And oh yeah, I know. But it's good, it's good to miss things, and when you come back, you can't wait to see us again. Maybe. So first thing, Kev is recording all of the readings, and it will then go up onto YouTube. If you don't want to be on YouTube, you need to let him know. Got lots of exciting things today. We actually have close to 20 readers. So Les will be timing them. For those of you who don't know who I am the Queen of Hearts. AKA Blaise. 4 minutes. Men's will be here a bit longer, but that's okay. It's party mode, aren't we? So 4 minutes, Les.
3 minutes, okay.
So at 3.5 minutes, Les is going to give you a warning bell. And then at 4 minutes, he's going to give you an end bell. And if you don't wind up the sentence you're on, then we're going to get the 2 Oscars onto you, because we've got 2 here tonight. When Kev put that t-shirt on earlier today, Oscar barked at him and ran. He actually ran at him. It was very bizarre. Because we didn't really think he was that smart.
Whoa, which one?
I'm not going there. So, there's a few things. When should we do the Creative Fellowship? Now.
They're really nervous, so maybe about 2 hours.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do it at the very end. How's that? We've got a couple of, or at least one musical.
We have Cher here tonight.
We have Cher. Yes. We've gone all out and spent the big bucks and got Cher in from the US.
You didn't bring your voice.
So we might just. I can't remember, when did we do the fellowship last year?
Just do it at the end.
No, that's mean.
We did it again last year.
I'm going to. This is. There are people in the audience waiting to find out who got the fellowship.
Yeah, when they find out, they'll leave.
All right. I'm going to, and it's very appropriate that the Queen is actually going to be awarding this. So, for those of you who don't know, we have an annual Busybird Publishing Creative Fellowship. Now, in the scheme of fellowships, it's not huge, but we think it's very valuable. So the winner will get $500 of cash, which they can spend on whatever they like. They get 1 year of mentorship with Busybird people. They get to come to all of our in-house workshops and whatever we have in-house for free for the year. What else? Remind me, what else, guys? You get your mentorship, but you also get to come and work at Busybird at any time you like as well. So, to me, aside from the money, because $500 cash is pretty good, we're all going to all go out to the pub afterwards with the winner. Get them really drunk.
There goes the cash.
Yeah, there goes the cash. No, so for anyone who is writing in the room, mentorship is probably the most valuable thing you can get as a writer. I know myself, I've had Les mentor me because I had every excuse not to write, and he kicks me up the bum. And I actually, because of that, I managed to write my novel in 9 months. And I had been working on it for about 12 years. So, you know, it makes a big difference. So, I'm going to put you out of your misery. Les,
Yeah.
I haven't got the names of all 3 people. Can you look on my desk to talk about and to show us, because she has the first copy of our book that's going to be launched on Saturday.
Hello everyone. Yes, I do. It's very exciting. I had the proof version of Live Your Truth, 10 personal stories to inspire you to live your passion. And it was delivered today, so we're expecting the bulk copies tomorrow in time for the launch on Saturday. So this, for those who don't know, I have been talking about this book for a while at open mics, but this is book 1 in the anthology series that I've created called We Inspire Now. And this anthology here has 10 authors, and there's a few of them here. It's Blaise, Diane, Anne-Marie, Jackie and Michelle. And it's very exciting to be able to launch this. It's only been 7 months since this, the first 2 authors came on board, Jackie and Diane, and it's been an incredible 7 months. It's certainly in stark contrast to the 20 years it took me to get my first book published. And the 10 authors basically share their stories about overcoming hardships, difficulties, and to pursue their goals regardless, no matter how old they are, no matter what challenges they've got to overcome. So it's about discovering who they are, living their truth, following their dreams and following their passion. And the idea is that they will inspire you to do the same. So very exciting to have this done. And we're also, this is not the end of the journey for me, so as this is part of a series. So the next book is going to be hopefully published next year, and I'm seeking authors for that. So the next one is called Wish I Knew Then, and it's about messages to your younger self. So if anyone is interested, please feel free. So I thought today, for the probably 1 or 2 minutes I've got left, I'd start to read part of my chapter. So I won't get very far, but I'll just start doing that. So my chapter is called It's My Turn Now, and the quote I've got with it is, "Play the music that is inside you." What will people say? Do the right thing, be practical, be good. These mantras ruled my life from when I was a little girl. Every decision had to be sensible and practical and had to be measured by what these mythical other people would say. I was never quite sure if these mantras were common for all Italians or whether it was only my parents who lived by them. The people seemed to be all of our Italian relatives, my school teachers, even strangers that my parents would meet. I soon realised that the expectation to please others came the feeling that I was never quite good enough. Everybody was the judge, and it's hard to measure up to everybody. But I've spent most of my life trying to do just that. My parents made this feeling worse. I never questioned or blamed them. It was what they had grown up with and lived by. My parents were always proud of my 3 sisters and I, and told our relatives and family friends about our achievements. The problem was that they, and my father in particular, always exaggerated our achievements. I was good at school and generally did well, but coming top of the class in a particular subject was relayed as coming top of the school. Top of the class wasn't quite good enough. I remember even in my late 20s, just before having my first son, I was studying for a Bachelor of Business and received an award for being Best Student in Commercial Law, 1988, at RMIT University. I attended a ceremony was awarded a certificate and some money. My parents were proud, but when my father told all our relatives, the award became Best Student in the whole of Australia. I was so embarrassed. This made me feel that no matter what I did, it was never enough to impress others, and impressing others seemed to be very important. Anyway, that's just
Don't put you on the spot.
Oh no, that's all right.
I'm the queen.
I think my shoes.
I'm the queen, so I can do whatever I like. Les thinks I do that anyway, I think. Okay. Now I'm going to do the official thing. So, the top 3 people who were in the running for the fellowship were Clemens Overall, Janelle Sheen and David Murray. And the winner is... David Murray.
I don't know. Yeah, sure. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much, Busybird. This means a lot to me, a lot. I first came here 3 years ago, met some very fantastic people both here and in other attendees of the course I was doing. Still get together with them every couple of weeks, so I'm really excited for what this means. And
And
next
what are you
year,
working on?
I'm working on a novel set in a fantasy world, so that's what I've been working on. Been building the idea for a very long time, so it's time to get it done.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so you know who your best friend is tonight? Okay. Sorry?
Drinks on Les.
Drinks on Les. I can't read this writing. Oh, Marcello. Marcello, you're going to talk about Genostra
And Victoria Market.
and Victoria Market. Cool.
Genostra is about 16,000 kilometres away from Victoria Market. What's got to do? A lot. But I've changed because I thought it'd be something different, still based on Victoria Market. Years ago, my theatre company produced a play called Victoria Market based on the events of the 1964 killings at Victoria Market, which had nothing to do with the mafia. But it was useful to have the mafia for the police, for the FBI, they sent Bob Golinsky from the newspapers, from politicians, the police and so forth. And I've been involved, and then we got a grant to translate into English, and we won the playwright conference first prize in 86, and in 1995 for the second production we won the Green Room Awards for the play, and I was lucky enough to get the Green Room Awards for the starring role in the theatre. I just read an excerpt of the solicitor, who belongs to a well-known family, most of you might pick it up, and I can say that our sort of people will thrive in moments where certain factions are really hurting from whatever reasons. And then next year I'll tell the story that developed after this, because the film was eventually made with a Harvey Keitel and Andy McDowell in Genostra, and that's where I got arrested by the FBI. Yeah. So this is Jim Gridall, who is a solicitor, and was trying to tell his son, "You are taking over the business." So he says, "I'm asking you to take over the management of our office. Are you willing?" "I'll do my best." "Of course. I'll always be ready to lend a hand, even our arm, especially with our rich Italian clients. When they come pleading poverty, Don't be taken in. Poor people don't come to lawyers like us for help. If an Italian in trouble comes through that door, you can bet it that he's got bricks and mortar or a bank under the floorboards. In extreme cases, you can get them to hand over to you their title deeds. But I tell you again, the time is right. We are in a unique historical situation, one that comes just once, and we must not let this chance slip. The winds set fair for France, or for Italy in this case. Now, you've heard all this talk about the mafia at the Victoria Market. You and I know that it's just a lot of garbage, and the police know that too. But the politicians have been convinced by the police that the mafia, the Black Hand, are in our midst. And now there's been the odd killing, for some sort of personal reasons. But those dead bodies are very, very useful. They are useful to the police so that I can impress the politicians and let them fork out more money for the maintenance of law and order. They are useful to the politicians to justify the inefficiency of the police. And then he says, just briefly, we are now faced with this dark and threatening phenomenon, wholly foreign to our society, and we must weed it out before it puts down deeper roots. My government will leave no stone unturned. My government will persist with all measures necessary to prevent the stain of the mafia from spreading further in Australia.
Very theatrical. Thanks, Marcello. Now, I meant to mention that we got an award.
Yes.
So we came third in the business awards.
Or second. Didn't say he would take second.
Runner-up,
But just say
actually.
runner-up.
Oh, we came runner-up. I wasn't here. I was in Bali.
I would have won if you were here.
We would have won if we were here. It's my fault. Oh, okay. But Kev was going to call for a drug testing because the winner was a chemist.
I just steal drugs all day. You're going to win.
But we figured, I don't know, how many people do you think go through a chemist a day? How many customers they would have compared to us? So we reckon we're the winners. So thank you for everybody who voted. We don't need awards to prove that we're good anyway, but Suzanne is going to read a story, or tell a story, called Patch and I.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Just keeps moving.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, there you are. It's very hard to see from up here, especially because fish don't wear glasses, and I decided that if I read, my fish fingers would cause me a problem. So I'm just going to tell you a story that I wrote about a time 20 years ago. And it will come out next year in my book called 3 Good Belly Laughs a Day. So I'm doing unashamedly self-promotion. About 20 years ago in the media, I saw that the famous clown doctor, Dr. Patch Adams, was coming to Melbourne. And he was performing or speaking at the Dallas Brooks Hall. I thought, I like being a clown. I've been a clown on many occasions. Any opportunity to frock up or dress up or put a clown wig on, a nose, floppy shoes, I was there. So I thought one of my friends might like to come along with me. Peter was terminally ill at the time, and I said to her, would you like to come with me? And she said, oh, okay. Very mild, sort of quiet woman she was. Brilliant writer herself. Worked for the ABC, wrote children's programs, had awards all over the place, but she was really sort of self-contained. And so I said to her, look, I'm working in Bridge Road, why don't you come? She was still driving, she was able to drive. She came in and she picked me up to go in. And while I was sitting having my dinner in the Spud Cafe across the road from where I worked, I saw this very brightly dressed man with a long plait down his back, walking up Bridge Road, large as life, and I thought, what a funny thing. I'm going to see a clown tonight, and this guy looks just like a clown. So we hopped in the car with Peter and off we go to Dallas Brooks, get in there, and big intro by Dr. Ian Gawler. He said, now I introduce Dr. Patch Adams. And out walked my clown that I'd seen half an hour or so before. And I said to her, that's the guy I was telling you about. And she's sitting there like this. So Patch had everybody totally enthralled for the whole hour or hour and a half he spoke. He just talked with a passion about how he became the world's first clown doctor, and he worked in Russia with children who were terminally ill and children who had no parents, and he could see these kids just shrivelling up from never having laughter in their life. So he started dressing up as a clown, and his story was made into a movie and beautifully done by Robin Williams, one of the saddest clowns in this world, and we miss him very badly. But Patch spoke with a passion, and I sat there and he had everybody laughing. And I kept looking at my friend, and she was so contained, and I was laughing and I was aching by the time he finished. So he said good night, and without thinking I jumped onto my feet and I marched right up to the middle of the Dallas Brooks Hall stage, and I threw my arms around him, and he didn't mind. No security came, nothing happened, and we're standing on the stage in front of hundreds of people, and I was telling him, Patch, you made my day. I saw you when I was having my spud and you walked past and you're just a normal person. I thought people like your celebrity status would come by a limo. He said, nah. He said, why would I? He said, I get to meet normal people as I walk up the street. And he said, see, I made you smile, didn't I? A couple of years ago, I decided I would give my grandchildren a surprise at a birthday, because the little one, who was turning 3, had said to his grandfather, Grandpa, you're very funny. I'm not very funny, and Granny's not funny at all. So I hired a costume, turned up as a surprise, and it was a brilliant success. This isn't that costume, because 2 months later I had to do it again for the twins' 5th birthday, and they were having an underwater mermaid theme and superhero. So I became a clownfish and swam into their sort of aura, and we had a ball. I've done it once again for a friend's 65th birthday. It was a huge hoot, so if anybody needs a clown, I'm it!
What if someone's scared of clowns?
Oh, I'm not scared.
Isn't Kramer scared of clowns?
Yes.
But that's not real life, that's TV. Pamela is going to read some of her memoir. I think that says something in flying in Nairobi. Is it flying in Nairobi? Yeah, flying in Nairobi. Yeah.
The ballet went to Nairobi in Africa, and I was very lucky to be able to learn to fly. So this is all about that. On the appointed day, I caught the local bus to Safari Air Services and was greeted by Dave, the chief flying instructor. On the tarmac were several motionless light aircraft, their wings gleaming in the sunlight, as he directed me to a Cessna 172. Before you begin lessons, I must see your reactions in the air. The 4-seater plane took off and climbed higher as he gave me the controls. All the fun of the fair, I shrieked, as I slapped the stick back and forth, lapping up every second. Trying to go higher, he yelled, then explained gently, you were taking us into a stall. The plane will shudder and nosedive and fall to the ground. I passed with flying colours, and a course of 2 lessons a week was organised for the following months. You must buy the book, How to Become a Pilot, and study it. The first lesson was terrible. No flying, learning how to put wooden blocks by the wheels, view various parts of the plane, what they did, and how to put petrol in the tank. What a lovely life, studying and flying in the daytime and dancing at night. I was mastering how to fly the plane when, after a lesson, Dave delivered the shocking news. Come at 10 a.m. on Monday. You'll miss the rising currents of hot air and turbulence at midday. You're taking your first solo flight. Help! I read the chapter on solo flight several times. Not possible. Tossing and turning all night, the plane stalled. Problems occurred lowering the flaps as I crashed in front of a den of lions with witch doctors waiting to boil bones for magical cures for the insane after the lions ripped me apart. Shaking from head to toe, after 3 takeoffs and landings, Dave looked at me. "You're not going solo today." He knew I was a blithering mess. "Come back on Thursday." Saved. Happy to fly with Dave to guide me, I took control of the aircraft. Typical fun and laughter continued until after 3 circuits, he demanded I stop. Jumping out of the plane, he commanded, "1 circuit and land here." No time to think. It was a perfect takeoff, but flying down the long straight, preparing for landing, I froze. An empty seat was beside me. Alone, I had to get the plane down or crash. Lowering the flaps on time, the earth rushed up to greet me as I landed with a hearty bump, careered off the runway, stopping on the grass verge. Afterwards, it became second nature to fly solo, and I learned how to pirouette in the sky. Climbing to 6,000 feet, using the right rudder, the plane took a deep spiralling dive, turning 3 times upside down before returning to a normal height. Learning to make flight plans, checking the weather, using the radio and navigating by map and compass was fascinating. "Your next lesson will be for an hour and a half," Dave stated, grinning at me. He was pleased with my progress. Read up on cross-country flying. I should be flying over the Great Rift Valley to land on a dirt track at a small village called Malu and continue to a landing track at Lake Nakuru. I'll guide you all the way. Wonderful news. Confident, I arrived early to sort out the flight plan and weather and check the plane for faults and petrol before takeoff. What a glorious day. Mountains soared above the barren valley and I landed safely on the track in Mala. A lone African stood at the side, watching us, holding a stick for balance, with one leg tucked high under the other. Poverty to the extreme. "Take off now. Radio communication. Good. Watch your compass," Dave authorised. Over Lake Nakuru, as we landed close to the edge of the water, the wonder of nature revealed itself as a huge flock of flamingos rose up, fluttering their wings to reveal a dazzling display of bright pink feathers.
Sound effects.
Stay with the flamingos.
Okay, who's revving up the dog? I'll take it, it's Ryan.
Always right.
Sandra. Sandra is going to read a poem and something from a book. The Most Powerful Start. Is that the poem?
That's the problem.
That's the poem. Okay, welcome.
Hi everyone. This is a poem that I wrote when I was about 16 years old, and I've written another book that will be out in 3 weeks, and it's called I have to think now. Got nervous all of a sudden. It's called Each Moment. Thank you. It's called Each Moment, and it's a true story. It's a children's story about myself and my sister, and we were very, very different. And the solution came from a grade 1 child that I taught in 2005, having a conversation with students and saying how it's difficult to get along with everyone and some problems are really hard to resolve. And I told her about a problem I had when I was little with my sister. She gave me the best solution, and that's part of the book. So, so talking about kids inspiring you, sometimes you can look back at your own writing, and I've got a story, a little poem here from when I was 16. I thought, goodness, that just surprised me. Anyway, I'll share it. It's called The Most Powerful Start. Made in various colours, with various styles, various noses and various mothers. In the variety in which we come and are made and grown, the consistency through history proves that we have this need to be the same. If one wears a mask, the next will, until we are completely one clone. The worst thing one can do is lash out and change. Yet, if one changes, eventually a new style lives out the old. So, why can't we be who we are as our individual natures gives us the most powerful start? So, sometimes we shock ourselves, sometimes we don't realise every single one of us, every child I teach from, every single one of us has already got everything that we need, and we're always looking outside ourselves. So this is an excerpt from my book that I published last year called Creating Mindful Moments. Luckily I've got it in front of me, I can remember the name. And it's broken up in different parts, and this one's called A Mindful Moment. Interlacing mini mind breaks in our day opens avenues to enhance our well-being. The mindful moments have been created to support our ability to make empowering changes in the way that we approach life. By planting encouraging thoughts over time, we can build a healthier relationship with ourselves. They are stepping stones towards meditation and hearing ourselves in a calm and to hearing our calm and inner voice. Creating moments in our day gives us a chance to check in with ourselves, notice our thoughts, our emotions, sensations as we support our own well-being. Once we begin the practice of pausing, we can weave clarity and peace into our day. This enables us to expand our available strategies towards more effective pathways in our lives. I'm going to stop there. Thank you, everyone.
Children's books actually at the printers now. It's got gorgeous colour illustrations. So I'm looking forward to seeing it in print. Thank you. This is the Roadrunner. I don't know who the Roadrunner is.
Richard.
Is it Richard? Is it Richard? Yeah. It is you? Okay. Richard is going to read From Insult to Injury. Tricked me.
I thought as long as I was going to come as the Roadrunner, I might as well read something about running. Anyway, this is true stories in my book, which was published by Busybird a couple of years ago, From Insult to Injury. I know writing about winning a gold medal at the World Masters Championships sounds self-indulgent, but bear with me, it's not like that. The fact is, I've got no particular ambitions to show my medal to anyone other than my grandchildren, except for one bloke. Let me paint the scene. We're back a couple of months before the Games, and this particular morning, I'm jogging through the leafy back blocks of Eltham to the local oval to do some training on the grass. A few hundred metres from the oval, there's a tip truck parked beside the track, with the truckie obviously having his breakfast, morning tea, lunch, or whatever you call it when you're eating a pie about 10 a.m. At a guess, I'd say he was about half my age, that is about 30, and twice my weight, that is about 160 kilos. Although perhaps that's a tad uncharitable, but not much. In any case, he's in proper truckie's uniform, big bushy beard, blue singlet, tats, etc., and obviously doesn't have anything particularly urgent to attend to at the time. Anyway, it's a pretty quiet spot, there's no one else around, and as I jog past, I offer the usual Australian greeting. How are you, mate? Nothing, not even a nod. Now perhaps he was deaf and couldn't lip read, but I don't think so. What I do think is that sometimes, despite the silence, you just know there's a thought conversation going on. And in this case, it went something like this. Truckie, doddering old fool. Me, get stuffed, fat slob. Now, even if he was a mind reader, I was still going to be okay because he couldn't get his truck where I was going, and I knew if it came to the worst, There was no way he could catch me on foot. But I digress. A short time later, I arrived at the Oval and was jogging quietly around the perimeter when, in the space of one stride, I was in mortal agony. Something had happened to my calf. I didn't know what it was, but I was pretty sure it was career-threatening, or possibly even life-threatening, as you do. Ultimately, it turned out to have been just a cramp, but that's not the point. At the time, I couldn't walk, let alone run, and I wasn't at all sure how I was going to get home, which was about 1 kilometre away. As it was, after a bit of self-massage, I set off, doing the best I could, knowing full well I had no choice. If I didn't, I would certainly die of exposure, and my body wouldn't be found until the next time the local footy team played at home. Ultimately, of course, as I limped painfully back the way I'd come, I rounded the bend to where, only a few minutes earlier, with long, smooth strides, I'd swept past the truckie. He was still there. This time I made no attempt at greeting or even making eye contact. I didn't need to. He didn't say a word, but the mental telepathy began the instant I came into view. Ha! Told you, silly old prick. Yes, I'd like to show him my medal. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Lillian. Oh, there you are. Lillian, I don't know what you're reading. Maybe you didn't know either. I'll let you explain.
Thank you. Hello everyone. I'm going to read a little excerpt from this novel of mine called Wanted Greener Grass, a novel about love, envy and a crazy kind of courage. So I'm reading this excerpt because it's about a fancy dress-up party. Just seems to fit. So the main character, we're starting off in the toilet, so I apologise. It was empty. This is the toilet in the laundry. So she ducked straight in and bunched up the great armfuls of crimson velvet of this dress that she's wearing and struggled to lower the black tights without ripping them so that she could sit and release a now urgent stream of fluid. She sat there for an extra moment enjoying the relief from strangers and the constant noise and chatter, then stood up to grapple once again with the tights and skirt. Someone was in the laundry. She could hear glass and ice clinking and remembered that there were drinks in the trough. She flushed the toilet and stepped out, and there, cracking open a dripping stubby of beer, was a tall, handsome stranger in jeans and a T-shirt that stretched across a broad chest and well-rounded biceps. I don't know, that one. Not in costume, she said in mock accusation to cover her embarrassment at emerging from the toilet. I am my shadow, he said, with a brief incline of his head and toasting her with the stubby. I like yours. She blushed. Most of the guys do, but really, come on, that's a cop-out. If I've got to wear something like this, she's wearing a very saucy thing, how can you get away with that? The shadow is your dark side, right? He said. He had a lovely voice, deep, calming. I'm a journo, specialising in crime and with a special interest in government and corporate evil-doing. I delve into political strife and expose it. I deal in darkness. But the shadow includes admirable qualities as well, not just the evil ones, she countered. Didn't you read Cheryl's invitation? Help me celebrate my 40th by coming dressed as your shadow self, he quoted. Your repressed darkness or your disowned magnificence. Exactly, she agreed, impressed. So what is this then, indicating the everyday clothes? Okay, he acknowledged, you've nailed me. I'm so caught up in society's dark side that I've lost track of my personal shadow. Perhaps you can help me find it. You are a little drunk, she said. His magnificence, on the other hand, was perfectly clear to her. She was fighting an urge to touch his arm, run her hand over that hard muscle. So tell me about yours, he was saying. I don't want to put a foot wrong by identifying you incorrectly, but a hooker? A tart. I'm expressing my inner temptress. You're not doing a very good job of it, he said. You're coming across like a librarian or a kid playing dress-ups. Mia stiffened. Really? She said, unable to trust herself with more words than that and wishing she had not paused to chat. Really, he said, holding her gaze. I want to smoke.
Care to join me in the greater darkness? He jerked his head toward the laundry door. That leads into the garage, she hedged. I know, I've used it a few times already, but there's a backyard you can get to as well, the deck and seats, and it's quiet. Mia knew that route and deck quite well. She knew the love seat too. She said. I won't eat you, or ask you to act out your act, he added. Screw the man. All right, she said. That's all. How much time have I got, Mr. Honestly? 1 minute, okay.
29 seconds.
All right, so very quick little commercial. If anyone wants to buy summer reading, come and see me. Or books for kids, this is one of them, and I've got another few. Christmas present time, right, folks? This one, Quest for Riches, is a novel teaching financial literacy through a story about 4 teenagers. And it's about to be used in Europe as the basis for a program teaching financial literacy. So, thank you. Oh, just watch this space. I'll tell you more as it happens. Have I got any more time? No, I haven't. That's it.
Thank you, Lydia.
The birthday girl. Happy birthday to you.
We already did that. Should we embarrass her more? Rosemary is going to read a story called Waiting.
Waiting as in waiting. She sat at the bus stop, fidgeting with the sleeping bag balanced on her lap. Her fingers played with the cord at the opening, chipped pink nail polish flashing as she twirled it round and round. In contrast to her fingernails, the rest of her was in perfect accord. Hair tied back in a ponytail, plain white t-shirt over skinny jeans rolled up at the ankle, and a pair of well-worn Skechers completing the I'm blending in look. But she knew her dad would still comment on her appearance. He just couldn't help himself. Her dad never wanted to pick her up from her mum's house where she lived and always suggested this bus stop. Why did he do this? Was he afraid of her mum? Was it to avoid seeing the sadness in her mum's eyes when he came to collect her? Did this mess with his conscience? Did he indeed have a conscience? So, the bus stop became the pickup point for the weekend shuffle. The halfway house between her home and his. Only they rarely went to his home. It was almost like he wanted to completely separate his life from hers, not let her catch a glimpse of it, which he'd compare it to hers, report back to her mum. What was he afraid of? She tugged the cord tight, pushing the stopper hard against the opening as she contemplated the weekend. Sometimes the dad felt like a stranger. Was she really half him? Which half, she wondered. Perhaps she looked a bit like him, the way both their noses turned up and slightly to the right, the cowlick on their foreheads. Please God, not his flat butt. But if you think personality or character, well, they were poles apart, weren't they? He loud and brusque, she quiet and introspective. He dismissive, she thoughtful. She saw him alternate weekends, only they weren't alternate weekends, more like alternate months. Somehow he always got too busy and cancelled, and often at the last minute too. This time he assured her he was seeing her. And why? They were going camping. He had booked the place and paid the deposit, and so it was a done deal. No way would he opt out if it meant losing cash. Camping, what fun. He and his girlfriend, the daughter and her, all 4 of them laughing and playing and swimming together over 2 days and 1 night. She rolled her eyes at the thought. She knew the first thing he would say when he got out of the car to greet her. My, you've lost weight. Or, my, you've gained weight. He had this fixation with her weight. Well, if you saw her more often, he wouldn't be so surprised. Hence the nondescript look today. Surely he'd find nothing to comment her. She scanned herself. T-shirt ironed. Nose ring removed. No rip in jeans. New tattoo on wrist. Shit, she was done for. She got up to grab a jacket out of a bag to cover the evidence. Too late, he pulled up just at that moment. She hurried to put the jacket on as he limbered over, and attentive for once, He reached out to help her. As she pushed her hand through the sleeve, he stopped dead. Pulling her wrist toward him, he said, "Look at you."
Have you put on some weight?
It is actually Rosemary's birthday today. Sunny and Cher, are you ready to roll?
Yes, okay.
So, Kev and Shell have an original, first time ever seen in front of an audience. Shell has written the lyrics and Kev has done the music. And I will leave the rest to them. You need anything moved?
No.
Where's the camera?
Hanging on my thing. Hanging on the tripod. Shell would like to do a preamble saying that we don't sing. Alright, so
Two introverts who can't sing, putting it out there.
you ready?
No. So there's three things we need from the audience. We need audience participation to make us feel better. One, the chorus is pretty catchy. It goes, "If you don't do love," anytime you hear that, sing, please sing along. Number two, Kev and I have a solo each, just phones out, light our way and sway. And number three, cheer and clap no matter what happens up here. Here we go. It's called "If You Don't Do Love."
Silent words talk in your head. Why do they there talk to me instead? Keep me in mind, like keep me there. I'm all in a thought to me.
words. I never got them from the start, and I know it's true. I should tell you how much you mean. I don't do love.
Your touch is translation for every unsaid word. But in your absence, your hands are unheard. I'm waiting to hear you say, and I'm fading.
I don't do love. I don't do love. I don't do love. I don't do love.
Call me,
I don't do love.
text me,
I really don't do love.
carry a pigeon.
I don't do love. Let's do another one.
All right, we do love. All right.
I'm going to kill myself by the end of
I know someone who can follow that. David Russell. David has a poem called Cobbett's Return.
That's the hardest act to follow.
We know you can do it.
Cobbett is my brother-in-law, whose real name is Colin. He used to own the go-kart centre in Mount Beauty, and I read a poem last year about the go-kart centre and Cobbett's adventures there. And he closed that, went overseas. After about a year, my wife was making the Christmas pudding, and texted him and said, making the pudding, are you coming home? And it was winter in Greece, and he said, I'm on the way. So he came back, and he came straight home from Greece to Christmas. And the Sydney-siders, our relatives in Sydney, tried to get him, and they tried to tempt him with other dishes like rum and raisin cake. But he wasn't to be tempted. He came. I wrote this poem and sent it up to the Sydney-siders after Cole left us, and you'll see why. You probably know Cole's been away. Well, he came back the other day. He flew straight into Melbourne town. We picked him up when he touched down and took him home a bit jet-lagged. To tell the truth, completely shagged. He said that he was back for good. He'd heard about the Christmas pud. He thinks the pud is quite amazing, much preferred to rum and raisin, or anything served cold or hot that anyone in Sydney's got. Well, anyway, back to the tale. We picked him up, washed out and pale, and took him home and fed him stuff to make him feel not quite so rough. And gradually, just bit by bit, he came around, snapped out of it. And to his face some colour came, and then he recognised his name, and then he seemed to be quite bright. And Chicky said, Chicky's my wife now, Chicky said, he'll be all right. I do believe with care and pud, in equal doses, he'll come good. But now he should be off to bed. But Cobbett smiled and feebly said, I took some photos a while away. Why don't we look at some today? And we said, this may not be wise, but just a few, then Betty buys. Well, I must admit I'd never seen this well-known trick work quite so clean. As soon as we agreed, we knew he wouldn't stop at one or two. Yes, we'd been conned. We really took the line, the sinker, and the hook. And then we had to labour through 1,000 photos, maybe two, of sand and rocks, then more sand and then more rocks. And some people, and we briefly fell asleep, so then he made us watch them all again. And this went on till 3 or 4, till I cried out, enough, no more. And I think I may have used a word I don't believe you've ever heard. And from my lips you never will. though here it seemed to fit the bill. Then next day, around 10:30, the blighter put them on again. He said, I thought you'd like to see 2,000 photos, maybe 3 of churches, synagogues and mosques, and quite a few of sand and rocks, and I'd be failing in my duties if you didn't see these beauties. And there we sat, and there we saw 3,000 photos, maybe 4. And Cobbett said, for we were yawning, let's do the others in the morning. And as we lay in bed that night, we tried to work out how we might stop these shows before they harm us, stop these endless dioramas. We had to stop these shows right now. We had to stop them, yes, but how? And I remembered that we had lots of photos, mostly bad, of many places we had been that Cobb had never ever seen. If I could force young Cobb to see him, we'd turn the tables, carpe diem. So then, next day when he came down, I had our photos spread around. I said, without a trace of malice, Cobb, here's our photos of the Alice. And over here's a book or two on nothing else but Uluru. Here's Oodnadatta, Cooper Pedy. What's the matter? You look seedy, for indeed his face had whitened. We could tell that he was frightened. I think he even used that word we talked about that you've not heard. Well, first he looked at 1 or 2 and then mumbled he had things to do. He looked around, saw he was beaten, and knowing that the pud was eaten, searched everywhere to find a way to run and fight another day. Saw the clock, feigned surprise. Is that the time? There are some guys I meant to see at 10:30. I guess I should be going then.
Thanks, David. Clemmy. Where's Clemmy? Oh, you're over there, sorry. I would have got there. So Clements overall was one of our runners-up for the fellowship. So well done for applying, and I hope you keep working it. Don't give up. And Clem is going to read a story called Scared. Come on, Clem.
The name of the story is Scared, and I am scared reading this story because I didn't realize that this was going to be such a light-hearted situation, and this is a very confronting story. But I only brought a couple of pages with me. I thought we had less time. So anyway, it's Scared. I wasn't scared the night I was thrown in jail. The night was moonless and I was drunk. Singing at the top of my lungs, I staggered between my 2 handsome Guatemalan friends, Pedro and Mateo. We were walking home from the little town of San Benito, where we had danced the merengue all night in a dusty town square. Amor, 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 I crooned into the night when 6 police officers surrounded us. 2 of them shouted orders as I grabbed my friends and shoved them to the dark roadside. A cop, the one with 2 badges sewn on his shirt, stepped forward. He was shorter than I, but something about the way he half closed his left eye told me he could hurt me. Sneering, he looked at me up and down. If you give me a blowjob, you can go free. I laughed. His scowl changed to a taunting smile, revealing sharp, tight teeth. And he added, not just me. He cocked his head towards the other cops, who were standing like a pack of half-starved dogs. Fuck you, I yelled and turned to leave. He grabbed my arm and shoved me back towards the town center. The police pushed Pedro and Mateo as they marched ahead of me, silent. I didn't know then that Mayan Indians like Pedro were persecuted, often assumed to be guerrillas. No, for me, the country's motto, the land of eternal spring, was magical with its Mayan Indians and ancient ruins set in emerald jungles. This police encounter was just another dream that would soon fade. Inside the building's crumbling walls, the police shoved Mateo and Pedro into a large cell among stocky Indian men who stared at us. They were silent, leaning against the bars, their eyes as steady and unfeeling, like dead fish eyes. The cop marched me by them through empty, dim-lit, lime green rooms with corners darkened by mold. His hand slipped across my back and my waist, up my hip, then into my back. bag. "Pada, stop it. Don't rob me," I slurred. I could feel his hand digging into my purse. He looked away and led me to a room where a gaunt man sat as if he was waiting for me. He declared himself to be El Juez, the judge. His dark-colored clothes hung on him like rags from a tree. He sat behind a pine table that sagged in the middle, a folding screen behind him barely concealed an unmade bed. "Empty your bag on my table," the judge ordered. Among my pens, comb, wallet was a little red bag I'd never seen. "Bueno," he said, as he jabbed at the red bag, then scooped out some marijuana with a gnarled finger. "What is this?" I stared incredulous. He leaned forward, stinking of booze, his mouth twitching as he offered me an alternative to jail. Pointing to the screen, the judge now spoke in English. "Fucky, and you go free." He stated his offer, and I gave the same answer repeatedly until a cop hauled me off to the woman's jail.
Thanks, Clement. Joan. Joan Shelton is going to read a poem called Mud. I've got the song in my head now. I don't do love. I can't sing, so. I don't do love. See, we're all going to be singing it. Come on, Dave.
What a wealth of talent tonight.
It is, isn't it?
I have a little preliminary, so hang off. Writer's workshop. And because I'm 90, I don't always remember things. And we have a topic each time. And I forgot the name of the topic this time, so I rang one of my friends and she said, well, the topic is mud. I thought, oh. Anyway, I had very little time, so I just threw this together. Mud. Contemplating our topic sent my head in a whirl. It's hardly a subject for a spick and span girl. To start with, what angle am I meant to employ? This subject's more fitting to a grubby young boy. On reflection, it's proving quite a versatile word, though some contexts arising are completely absurd. To be stuck in the mud, not my idea of a joke, when out in the country, many miles from most folk. A respected beautician may master the knack to persuade naive patrons to apply a mud pack, which could clog up the breathing and stiffen the jaws, resulting in rashes and nasty red sores. If your friends refer to you as stick in the mud, they deem you quite hopeless. You're a bit of a dud. If some ignorant fellow yells, "That's mud in your eye," I'm not sure of its meaning, but I suspect it's quite sly. So I'm steering right clear of this subject today. I'll sit back and listen to what others say. And I'm not being left behind. This was my last book. It's a children's book and it's Christmas time, and I've got a couple if you're interested.
Don't you think books make the best Christmas presents?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Megan. Is Megan here still? Oh, she's right there in front of me. Megan is going to do a narration called Afterlife.
Tonight, I'm talking to you. Yes, you, my friend. I have come for you, and you're here and willing to listen, I assume. Always a good start. I have a message for you. It's not a pleasant one. I've been instructed to tell you that you are going to die. I don't know when, where, or how, but it will happen. And even if you don't want to talk about it, think on it, because the best thing that we can do is to prepare for what comes after. The afterlife. What happens to you after you die? If you died now, where would you go? How sure are you about that? Because what if I told you that you could choose? The truth is now clear to you. Facts revealed themselves, and you understood them as you grew older and wiser, with your thinking mind grasping why things are the way they are now. You've grown a conscience. That keeps you human. Where did it come from? You think it's the law? You're smart. You think for yourself. You can navigate the ins and outs of right and wrong without transgressing, mostly. You know when you do something wrong or right because people tell you, but who told them? What makes them right and you wrong, or vice versa? Is it possible that everything is subjective? No. There has to be a right answer, somewhere, somehow, but where do you get it from? A reliable source. Like someone who is best friends with another. You'll ask them about their bestie. What are they like? What have they made and are proud of? You know this world's a mess. Yet even in this state you can see the beauty of it in nature all around. Something is out there and you know it. Someone. What does this have to do with you? You know who you are, or think you do. Again, did some person tell you? A human's perspective. More likely than not, again, subjective. Did you think you worked yourself out on your own? Another human's perspective, if honestly reflective. Are you just surviving or really thriving? And even if thriving, with what are you measuring? You know there's more to life than the physical. There's a soul and spirit in you craving greater function than to merely sustain the body. But what happens to them after you die? Now you're alive. You think, you feel, you're conscious, you collected a personal history, and very much like computers, this personal history of yours may well be uploaded into a new body. The question is if you have been saved. But if you're not in control, someone else has to do the saving for you. It's a matter of you choosing to allow yourself to be saved. Someone about whom everything is absolutely right and nothing wrong. Someone who became human to save you from the laws of humanity. Someone who has been showing himself to you from the beginning of things. Someone who could take on everything any person has ever done wrong and defeat the curse of humankind, of death, that which would otherwise have separated us from all that is good, and resurrect us, being able to exchange us for a new and glorious form after everything else that might happen. Someone who has always loved you, no matter what you might have been through, for however many years you've lived. Someone's birthday today. Someone I know who knows all about me and you, but better still, who wants you to know him, who would die for you. He already has. And he has come back from the dead. When you go somewhere, or when you want to go somewhere, you find out from people who have already been there, right? And then they come back and they tell you. So he has come back from the dead, so that you don't have to suffer the consequences of whatever wrong you might have done, that your conscience won't let you off the hook for. It sounds too good to be true, but it isn't. Like I said, I know this guy, and I'm not the only one here who does. He wants you to know him. What will you choose? Thank you.
Super vegan. Gay Miller is going to read a poem. Xmas at my house. What is it? Xmas at my house?
No.
No? Is that my phone?
You get your husband to do something and
That'll be my phone.
I've got to fix a few things first, like my stomach, which is sort of a couple of bed socks and it's rolling around. Thank you. I don't have to repeat that, do I? I look good, don't I? I said to my husband, I'd make a very handsome man, wouldn't I? He doesn't. Where is he? Where are you, darling? There you are. We're Laurel and Hardy, but I don't know whether we look like that. Anyway, I'm just going to read a poem today because we're very tired. This is called Early Morning Visit. Readying for work, we heard a familiar sound, but this sound was louder and closer to the ground. Wondering what it was, we raced for the door. The sound was much clearer than we'd heard before. Out onto the patio, and oh, what a surprise! A huge yellow balloon like a morning sunrise, hanging just a few feet above our backyard. The people in the basket staring back at us hard. For a long moment, silence reigned, and I wondered why no greetings were exchanged. And I thought, well, hospitality should start with me, so I raised my hand to greet happily. Waving a welcome, I looked down by chance to find that I was in my bra and underpants. I slapped my thighs and turned and ran, thus showing the other side of this grand. Now I'm more careful about what I wear, most particularly when it comes to my underwear, because no one knows what will be on display, and undies not immaculate were thrown away that day. I'll never forget the people in that basket and how they looked at me in the strangest way. Those poor people couldn't run from what they saw, and they'd never seen the likes of me before. My neighbours all blame me now because the baskets don't come over our way anymore. They go on a longer route, far away from our place. Thank you very much.
Where's Nicola? Where's Nicola?
Just go on to the bar for it.
Oh, I'll go the next one then.
She's back now.
Oh.
Now she's swearing. Okay.
Are you ready, Nicola? Do you need a minute?
And you are.
Nicola is going to read a novel excerpt called Disintegration. Is that the name of the novel?
Yeah. Sorry, I was nervous drinking and I had to relieve myself.
If you haven't worked it out, she's Les.
Yeah, I'm Les. So this is a novel that I was working on a couple of years ago that I'll never finish, and it's loosely based around my time working in an aged care facility. I sit down on the graffitied seat of the train. The commute to work in Hoppers Crossing is quiet and monotonous as usual. The sun peeps in through the scratched window, reflecting off the hair of the girl sitting in front of me. It is a beautiful dark blonde colour and shines in different but subtle colours each time she moves her head. She gets off suddenly at Laverton, and I snap out of my dreamland as I realise there are only 2 more stops. I get off the train with the hordes of junkies and high school kids. I keep my head buried in my book as I walk in order to avoid looking at the industrial landscape that borders the grey sky. I've travelled this route many times before, and I can now walk without falter during the 5-minute journey over the highway to the aged care facility. My stomach churns in knots as I near my destination. I mentally prepare myself for another week. I reach the facility, a brown brick veneer building with a scrappy car park and no plants or trees in sight. I punch in the code of the front security door, 9848, and it swings open. I punch in the same code for the second security door and enter. The building is lit by fluorescent bulbs and always smells of bleach and shit. It used to bother me, but I adjusted quickly. There was no one around except for the grey-haired receptionist, Julie. Heartless bitch, I think. Heather's face is red with exertion. Her short grey hair sticks up in all angles. The long beads around her neck sway over her heaving chest. She lights up when she sees me and plods over with her walking frame.
Lola, you'll never believe this. It's that damn Stanislav again. He's always picking on me, calling me woman. I picture Stanislav in my head, a cheeky old Slovenian-born man with an acquired brain injury and pants that never seem to stay up. Heather continues. He has no respect, I tell you, no respect at all. And his bottom, he's always showing it off. Oh God, Lola, I'm crying. She looks at me expectantly without actually crying, and then emits the same shrieking noises as before. Hey, Heather, it's all right. Just relax, okay? Breathe. I pat her in the back in the hopes of disabling the rising panic. How about you come in and we do some drawing together? Would you like that? I ask her. Heather looks up at me, eyes wide and mouth open. Oh, can we, Lola? Yeah, of course we can. Come inside. I take a deep breath as Heather pushes past me and into the activities room. The week was starting in usual fashion. Heather plants herself on the first available seat and looks at me expectantly again. Alrighty, I exclaim with as much enthusiasm as I can muster for a Monday morning.
Thank you for that, Nicola. You know, as Les, you could have probably ignored the Les's bell. Royce Chappell. Where's Royce? Rose, sorry. Sorry, Rose. Rose is going to read a novel excerpt as well called Court Hearing.
Thank you. It's from a book I've written called Where Loyalty Lies, which is about a woman whose husband is arrested for child sex offences, based on a true story. All rise, said the clerk behind the computer, in a voice that sounded abnormally loud in the silence of the courtroom. We all obediently stood. Melbourne Magistrates Court is now open. His Honour, Gleeson presiding. Everyone except me bowed. By the time I'd realised what they were doing, it was too late to join in. Please be seated, the clerk said. I couldn't see Anthony anywhere and was about to ask Mr. Zilli when the clerk called Anthony Gray. A door opened and Anthony appeared in the dock, behind a glass barrier with a guard at his side. He looked confused and lost, a slight wrinkle on his forehead. He stared straight ahead but didn't seem to see anything. Without being able to shave that morning, his face looked bristly and unkempt. He wore the same clothes he'd been wearing when they arrested him, and they were crumpled and untidy. I willed him to see me, but he just kept looking ahead. Ms. Obermeyer. The magistrate had a pleasant, deep voice. My first glance at him showed a man maybe in his 50s, balding, neat, in a grey suit and yellow tie. Somehow I expected him to be in a wig and robe. Our fate depended on him, but I could only look at Anthony. Your Honour, Mr. Gray is charged with 2 counts of possessing child pornography. The police inform me that other charges are pending. We are requesting remand in custody. In custody, Miss Obermeyer? I was relieved to see a slight frown and hear the disapproval in his voice. Yes, Your Honour, the defendant has access to many children through his work at a recreation centre and his involvement in a children's swim group. He has easy access to witnesses and we are afraid he will attempt to discourage them from giving evidence. The police are still investigating. In other circumstances, I might have enjoyed listening to his resonant voice. Yes, Your Honour, pursuant to a search warrant this morning, police seized a computer belonging to the defendant and at last count had located 20,000 images of child pornography in a hidden file. They have also located a number of photographs with images of children in bondage. It is likely that these will be the source of future charges. It appears they do not come from the same internet source as most of the other images, and police wish for time to locate the children in the photographs, interview them, and since they do not at this stage have any idea of their identities, we believe that releasing the defendant on bail puts these children at great risk. I am informed Mr. Gray was not cooperative in identifying any of them. Like so much that had happened that day, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Thousands of images and photographs, Mr. Gray not being cooperative, Anthony would give anyone anything. Children at risk, not from my man. This was getting more horrific by the minute. The magistrate looked up at Mr. Zilli, who shot up as though fired from a cannon. Your Honour, we strenuously oppose remand in custody. My client has no previous convictions. He has a stable family. His wife is here in court to support him. He indicated me. I half stood, but my knees felt weak and I couldn't make it all the way up. He and his wife own a house, they're both employed full-time, and there is no risk of him not attending court. Little Miss Obermeyer bobbed up again. Your Honour, we are talking about serious offending here. The defendant has made admissions. Mr. Zilly interrupted. About the computer, Your Honour, not about the photographs. As I was saying, Your Honour, the photographs were found in the defendant's house, in a box in the bottom of the wardrobe under the defendant's shoes. I'm not sure whether Mr. Zilly is arguing that the photographs did not belong to the defendant, but we feel very strongly that these children will be at great risk if the defendant is granted bail. Mr. Zilly stood quickly. I refer Your Honour to the Bail Act. Bail should not be refused if the defendant can be satisfactorily accommodated and sufficient restrictions are placed on the defendant to make the risk to the public acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. Mary. Where's Mary's? Mary Leet, yes. Mary is going to read some memoir. The dog ate my romance flower. Oh, it's really good.
February. I read my own oracle and lamented to the whole world on Facebook that there'll be no romance for me in the year of the dog. The dog was going to eat my romance flower. How? I didn't know. First casualty was Blondie Blue. I beat him to a joke in March 2017. By June, he asked me out to La La Land, his local pub. It was a cold, dark, wintry night, and then unluckily, there were blankets there. One thing led to another. He couldn't show his face there anymore. We kept to the bedroom after that. I nicknamed him BFF, my best forever. MSG, my sex god. In October, the dog stirred. His oldest tried to commit suicide. November, his wife had heart attacks. December, his youngest stopped eating. 30th of January, 4 days shy of Chinese New Year, he moved back to his family home. I'm a mother. How can I say no to the kids having their father returning home after 5 years of absence? It's every kid's dream. I blame that bloody dog. He ate my best romance flower ever. June, he asked me to be his mistress. He doesn't get it at home. I don't do affairs, but I can't say no. I prayed to the universe, do something, anything to stop me from having this affair. 2 days later, Blondie dived onto the ground behind a haystack at paintball and broke his ribs. Breathing was painful. That was a bit drastic, universe, I said. Did you really have to break his ribs? Or maybe it was not the universe. Maybe it was that bloody dog. August. I met him and our friends at a bar. I caught him kissing another girl outside later that night. I was devastated. What an asshole. I didn't see it coming. I was devastated. September. I calmed down. Just as well the dog ate him up. He's an asshole. Maybe he's a good dog. October. A friend set me up with her cousin. I warned her, not good timing, year of the dog. Just be friends, she said. He liked me and joined our weekly squash group. By November, he split up the group of 10 years friendship. I was mortified. That bloody dog. It's my fault. Any sniff of romance, the dog comes running and eats him up. Unbeknownst to me, I was told later, the cousin had a foul temper. Thank God for the dog. He was protecting me from assholes. Good doggy. So, if you're looking at me tonight, banish any thoughts of asking me out, or you'll call upon that dog. It may break your bones, break up friendships, and do things you normally don't do. So forget about me. But remember me in the year of the pig.
Thank you, Mary. We have 2 more readers, but while they're up here reading, I want you to think about people's costumes, because we're going to vote on the best costume for the night. Wow. No, the Queen is exempt because she's above your wall. Rhiannon. Where's Rhiannon? Rhiannon's right up the back. Rhiannon has 2 sonnets to read. Sonnet 18 and Sonnet 2018. Come on down. Woohoo!
Sorry, it's a long trip to the stage.
I'm just wondering if that's tall enough for you.
Yes, that's fine. Yeah. So because the theme for tonight was favourite authors, I thought I would read a poem by my favourite author and a poem by me, and we'll see who did it better. Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Sometimes too hot the eye of heaven shines, and oft is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometimes declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag that thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growst. So long as men can breathe and eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. And Sonnet 2018 by me. Oi, do you reckon you're better than summer? Duh, you're like totally way more thick. Because when flowers get wrecked, it's a bummer, and dude, autumn ends way too fucking quick. The sun is too harsh and it burns our skin, but when it's gone, we can't get proper tan. How come all good shit ends up in the bin? I wish it didn't all have to end, man. But at least you'll be banging forever. I know you'll never let your hot bod go. Do you think death could mess you up? Nah, never. Not when I wrote you this sick poem, bro. Bitches will read this shit and scream out, yes, I'm still here hollering for your sweet ass.
So which one was better? Paul. Where's Paul sitting? Paul, South, where are you? Oh, you're hiding.
Yes.
I don't know what Paul's reading.
I'm going to have to read really, really fast. Okay. So much. Thank you so much. This is not really a story or a poem. It's kind of like art therapy or writing therapy or something. Anyway, The Visitor. Even with the window down, it's a hot night. The humidity seems to have its own gravity, and I can feel the sweat crawling down my body. The only sound is the screaming of my engine. It's a small car for such a powerful motor, and I aim it up the guts of the highway to allow for any sway. There's only one light in the dark, and that's my headlights. This is how I travel, a straight line inland. I hear the lakes at the heart of the country are filling this year. Up ahead, I see it coming. His car is turned over. I'm surprised at the ease with which I pull over and approach the wreck, as if I know what I'm doing. I know the driver straight away, although I haven't seen him in 30 years. His cupid lips are full and bouquet pink. Through his open window, I see him. The wheels still spin on his car, an awful squall in the dead night. My car's headlights strike off one side of his face. He is grotesque and beautiful, both man and child. I stand there in my own time. I can taste the chrome at the back of my throat. He's running out. I see the wheels slowing on his car tyres. The wheels on his car slow, then stop. You are not a person. I created you, but it doesn't matter anymore. I pull my car alongside. The body I've dragged onto the road. I cut the clothes off with my utility knife. Then I slice through the chest as if I'm cutting through butter. I can see steam in the headlights rising from his body and from the road. I snap the ribs on the left side and peel away the chest cavity until I can see the dead heart. First I hook the jumper cables to my car battery, then I attach one lead to the aortic valve and the other to the vena cava. When I start my car, I see the clamps burn blue on their leads. There's a shower of sparks. Finally, his whole heart is burning blue. I'm aware of the darkness around me, how small we are, and how far away from ourselves. I could drive at the speed of light towards the stars. For 1,000,000 years I could drive, and I would never get back to where it all began. Thank you.
I'm not really in Virginia mode, I'm more in Roald Dahl mode. This is a book I've hand built. It's available on Kindle Digital, Kingdom of Nerida series, Donut Dungeon. Cyril the Wise, chief donut maker in the Kingdom of Nerida, loved to reflect deeply on life as he created his rich and diverse tapestry of donuts. There were jelly jitterbug, honey rat, crunchy crowns, maple mulberry, dragon catcher, golden glaze, apple ant, chocolate chip, melt in mouth mint, and sugar and jam donuts in Cyril's delectable donut tapestry. There were long donuts and tall donuts, oval donuts, even small finger food donuts for sale in Cyril's stall in the courtyard close to the entry of the Kingdom of Nerida. So all whom passed often purchased his delights. His store was packed with queuing children and adults, even sailors and captains of the guard, mothers purchasing donuts for their children, and many other small fry, as he liked to call the little children who so often visited. So he developed particular skills, Cyril the Wise, when not espousing the wisdom about the world and philosophizing about matters in general, was particularly fanatical about donut dispensing, which in his world included the donut dance. He would begin with the donut hoops and twirl them in a loop, hoop hats on heads. Crunchy crowns are the best, he recalled his friend Princess Isabella say in jest, as she took her crown donut, drew a squiggle or two across the paper on the counter. Isabella drew 3 more lines and took a bite. She even drew on Drew, the court jester's wife. She went to the zoo and drew on the lion's mane. She drew on the zebra and she drew on her arm too. Princess Isabella looked dubiously at the crown donut. Should she eat it or feed it to the new giraffe? No food, said the sign. She took a sniff and it was fine. She gulped it down after all and soon returned to Cyril's stall. A crowd gathered. Cyril the Wise threw a few more hoops on people's heads and dispensed melt-in-mouth mint muffins to the rest. Like little monkeys pranced up onto the counter where they danced. They snatched and gobbled donuts with golden glaze. They grabbed 2 more before Cyril could say good day. Who's for blueberry? They're tasty and they're new. Here's a fresh one for you, Hugh. 2 hands shot up. Cyril slung them into the air. Take these 2, he said to Sue, who paid 2pence and caught them. Cyril pocketed his pence and did a dance beside the fence. The kids giggled happily, joined by a fat lady. Dance, if you please, asked Cyril with ease. As she took his hand, they waltzed around the platform thrice, past 3 scurrying mice. Cyril returned to the counter. Here are 3 tropical bee donuts. They're really nice, pineapple flavoured and a good to slice. He took a knife, sliced them and passed them to the crowd. Sue took a bite of the slice and gave Cyril a tip. So he doffed his chef's hat to Sue as she headed to the zoo. In the distance, the lion roared. "Now I'll have 2 headless ants," said Arnold with a glance at the delectable, delicious donuts. He scooped them up. A second later, he doubled over, pranced and squealed, "Oh, I have a strange feeling. Oh my goodness, I forgot to mention, sometimes the ants are alive. That's not my intention."
Did I forget anyone else for reading?
I think Erin and Alison might have read.
No? Yes? No? Don't take any notice of... oh no, he's gone back to Les. Oh, I'm confused now.
People are saying all this.
Okay, so we have 2 launches coming up. This Saturday we have Live Your Truth here at 3 p.m. 10 authors are in this book. It's going to be a great launch. Yes. So please, it is open to the public, so feel free to come. We also have the 3rd book in our Healthy Conscious series called Healthy Spirit. The other ones were Healthy Body and Healthy Mind. This is going to be launched here at 7 p.m. on Tuesday the 4th of December. So I would love to see you for that as well. I have a chapter in this, and I have a chapter in Live Your Truth. Yes. What else? I want to say thank you to Noni because just about all the wine up there was donated by her tonight. So feel free to hang around. We won't have to hit up David for his cash. Any announcements that I need to make?
You're going on the road trip.
I am going on a road trip, but they're not in Sydney, so they don't care.
Friends.
Yeah, okay. If anyone knows anyone in Albury, Sydney or Canberra who wants to learn about writing or publishing, let them know that I'm coming. I'm leaving next Tuesday. I also wanted to show you this book. So this is by a local man, and it's called Encounters, and it's a whole lot of religious stories. So if you're interested in this, it's $45, but a good Christmas present. It's kind of the real stuff about Christmas, not all the silly stuff that we all do, partying and eating. What else? I think we've covered everything.
When are we back?
We will be back on the 3rd Wednesday of February. I have no idea what that date is. But so we will be closing here on the 20th, so next month for 3 weeks. Woohoo! Holiday. But what a huge year it's been. Who thinks it's been an extra big year? Yeah. I don't know how many books we've done this year, but it feels like a lot, and it's been fantastic. Thank you everyone who comes every month to Open Mic, and even other things, you know, talking to us on social media, coming to other events, just being part of the Busybird family. You guys are awesome. And, you know, this is fun, isn't it? Hasn't it been fun tonight? Yeah. I love hearing everyone's stories. It's such an eclectic, if you look at the list, it's like so many different types of stories, and yet we can all be in the room together and share them. It's fantastic. We've got some big things happening next year, but we'll announce those in February. We're not going anywhere. We're doing bigger and better things. But I would especially like to thank my Busybird team. I'm going to talk for the next hour, or I'm going to chop off your head. Oscar Wilde, thank you for being my other half. Luckily, he hasn't still got the beard, because we wouldn't recognise him. Then he would be wild. Thank you to Les up the back for everything. Les is really a huge and integral part of Busybird, and we don't know what we do without him, so thank you. And thank you for drinking all the beer. Thank you to Bo. Bo does editing and design and all sorts for us, and Bo's been with Busybird from almost the start, I think. So quite a few years.
Since you got out of prison.
Just since you got out of prison. Thank you to Shell. I can't see where Shell is. Is she hiding somewhere? Anyway, is Shell there? She's hiding. Okay.
She's under my table.
Thank you to interns, editors, because our interns become our editors. So we have Erin, Alison, Rhiannon, Nicola, Megan. Who else? I can't see everybody. Have I missed anyone, Kev? Thank you, guys. Every single one of you is important to us, so we really appreciate it, and it's great that you could come. We look forward to working with David next year, working on his book. Should be fun. We haven't decided how much torture we're going to give him yet. Les, have you worked out how much torture you've got in the store for David?
How much you got in store for him?
All of us. Oh, there's Cher. We wanted to say thank you for being part of the Busybird family, because you weren't here when I was saying thank yous. Okay. We might do a vote for best costume. Does anyone want to put any names forward?
Nicola is Les.
Just do the top three. Who votes? Three
Can we
people.
do a parade?
Parade? Okay. So I propose that these people are in the running. Cher, the clown, Fish, Gay, our runner, road runner. Who else is there?
Nicola.
Yeah.
Nicola, yes. Nicola, come on. Noni.
Robin and Gay are together.
Robin, come on then. Come on. Who else? Les, you have to come up. And Bo, and you two. You all have to come stand. Well, I found one, but I've lost it. I found one on the floor, but I don't want to go digging for it. Okay, so first prize is a packet of junk food erasers. Orange A90. Sam's first day as intern today. Look what she goes home with. Orange A95. Gets a whoopee cushion. Orange A81.
Oh, you better give it to somebody else.
Why?
Because I've got a prize.
So? Oh, the Queen, I can decide these things. Coffee, all writers need coffee. Orange A99. Anyone got A99? Perry?
No Blaise.
Sounds like Florida. Thank you. Copy of Self-Made, about business, local businesses. Orange A73.
Oh, that's me.
Yes? Have you got this one?
No, I don't have anything.
Copy of Healthy Mind. Orange A79.
Well, oranges.
Yes. Lucky last. I'm not going to give Healthy Spirit because it only just came in. You have to come to the launch to get it. Orange A88. All right. Does anyone have anything else they want to add? Kevin?
I just want to say thank you to everyone as well. Blaise and I try and we run this on a shoestring, and without your support, we wouldn't be here. We love what we do, and Blaise and I usually drive home after these things and just go wild with the little community we've created. We all feel really proud of it, so thank you for supporting us.
So there's still plenty of food down there. I don't think Oscar's been on the table since we haven't been watching. So please hang around, have more to drink. There's plenty of wine and tea and coffee and herbal and whatever you like. No hurry to go home. So thanks, and we will see you. Have a fantastic Christmas if you celebrate Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you back here after all the launches. We've got a few launches, so don't forget the launches. But if we don't see you, we'll see you back in February.